What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Fan Friday is here. Justin Fan back in the mix, and it's a special edition of the Established Run NBA Injury Report Analysis Show because DraftKings has decided to make today a non-late swap day, which makes our show even more important. I would argue the show is important, but even more important as we break down the injuries and what you can potentially expect from reading through this injury report today. So with me to do it, as always on Fridays, Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy and Mike Gallagher from ETR. Justin, how are you doing on this 9-game slate on Friday, 7-game for the DFS purposes? How are you feeling?
Doing great. Good to be back with you boys. I don't want the bookmakers to get too mad and accuse me of steaming the line, so I'll use my time to give a big shout out to Gary Hartman. Just an amazing run, a good human being, and his contributions are going to be missed. And best of luck to him in the future. So big shout out to Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary's last show at Established Run tonight, behind the paywall, 5 o'clock Eastern, with myself and Gary. The final hurrah for Gary Hartman, at least for now. We'll see. Maybe Gary wanders back to the DFS street someday, and he'd always be welcome with ETR. Mike, how are you feeling on this Fan Friday?
I feel amazing, man. Got one of the best night's sleeps I've had in a minute. Did Camelback Mountain. It was like a 3-to-1 girl to guy ratio, so that was nice. A lot of like, what's up? I say hello to most people on the trail who look friendly. So I feel great, man. Fan in the house. Gary's last day, Friday. The vibes couldn't be better.
Nice. Good to hear the ratios are working in your favor on the hikes. Let's get into this slate. 9 games of action, 7 games for the DFS purposes. We'll cover all 9 games on this slate. Let's start with Charlotte and Philadelphia. On the Charlotte side, very full injury report, as has been for a while here. They're still without LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams. They've also listed out Nick Smith Jr., Alexei Pokusevski, who they recently signed for G League purposes, as well as Leaky Black and Nathan Mensah. Probable tag for Grant Williams with a low back contusion here. Any concerns on the Charlotte side with this probable tag for Grant Williams, and any other notes? Gallagher, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen probable tags on Charlotte be shady, Terry Rozier a couple times, so treating it more like a questionable tag, that would obviously be really good news for Nick Richards, but we'll give him credit for the probable tag. It is a back-to-back, so we talk about this. Sometimes back-to-backs teams, and this the Rozier probable, Gordon Hayward probable tag, those are both back-to-backs, so would be a little bit nervous about that. Yeah, they would probably play a little bit of JT Thor, Mensah, somebody like that, but it would benefit Nick Richards in a really, really good matchup. The Sixers' interior defense has been terrible. Their transition defense has been really bad. But yeah, expecting him in, but we'll see. Other than that, their offense is a major problem. They can't crack 85 in their three of their last 4 losses, or beat 85, I should say. Not scoring 100. They can't score at the rim. They have no transition offense. They've had under 8 points in transition, which is unbelievably bad. In 2 of their last 4 games, the last game they only had 7, and then the Warriors game they only had 6. Their defense is still playing pretty good, but their offense is completely cratered. But yeah, go ahead, Fan.
Seems like they can use someone, maybe LaMelo Ball to spark that transition offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than that, I got not my Brandon Miller. Probably, the Sixers draw a lot of fouls, but that's because of Embiid. He's not there. They haven't been drawing many fouls, so he can avoid foul trouble. Bad transition defense as well. We'll talk about the Sixers, but could be a good Brandon Miller spot. Could be a good Miles Bridges spot. Could be a good Nick Richards spot. Could be a lot of spots. The Sixers are playing that poorly on defense right now.
Any other notes on Charlotte there, Justin?
No, I think we can move to Philly. I'll transition to them. We got Kelly Oubre added to the injury report at the 12:30 with a sore right shoulder. KJ Martin is questionable as well with that right ankle impingement. They'll still be without Joel Embiid, Robert Covington, DeAnthony Melton. So kind of want to get into this. Oubre, a same-day ad with that shoulder injury, not a good sign. KJ Martin only participated in 3/4 of practice yesterday and is making progress. So I think there's a decent chance they could be without both. And I'm thinking if they are without both, we'll see a 9-man rotation. Nick Batum would slide back into that starting lineup for Kelly Oubre, and that bench should be Kyle Lowry, Cam Payne, Ricky Council, and Mo Bamba. So we'll note that Darius Bazley was in their last game, saw a little time, but his 10-day expired, so he's no longer an option. And Terquavion Smith is still listed out due to G League. So could be, like I said, a 9-man rotation if both Oubre and KJ Martin miss. We'll note that Tobias Harris has been absolutely dreadful. Tyrese Maxey did his absolute best to keep him in that game against Boston, but Tobias just absolutely tanked, and he's been really bad coming out of the break. So, that's all I got on the Sixers side.
Yeah, I actually got a lot to add here. Tobias, 11, 6, and 2 in 30 minutes per game since the break. I mean, what the hell? Terrible play. And Paul Reed's on notice. After the game, Nick Nurse said that they are going to be looking for guys who could give them more at the 4 and the 5. He has played really bad. We saw Mo Bamba come in, kind of handle the Luke Cornett minutes, and then run in a little bit longer. Paul Reed's on starter watch here. We'll be watching the 76ers social tweet when it comes out 30 minutes before tip to see if there's a poll. He could be on thin ice. As you mentioned, I think Batum would start. Ricky Council got a lot of buzz from Nick Nurse here, and yeah, he's just like, he didn't really have much to say about Tobias. He kind of like, oh, he's just kind of slumping. And then yeah, their transition defense is so bad that the Boston Celtics scored their third most transition points in the game when they couldn't even make threes. They just killed them in transition, killed them on drives. They are so bad right now. They are 29th in defense over the last month. They are horrible. So if this is a spot for the Hornets to bounce back, this could definitely be it. Maxey has to play a ton. Matchup's pretty good. Not worried about Cody Martin. I'm curious. We have seen when it's a true alpha, we see a lot of trapping. That happened with Brunson, call it a month ago. It happened with a couple other guys, Curry a couple of times. They've done this. So there could be some trap risk, but the minutes and role is going to be probably too good. I don't really care.
Yeah, another year where this backup spot, center spot for Philly is a huge issue. Like, I like Paul Reed, but he hasn't acquitted himself well, and you kind of wonder what the price tag really was on Andre Drummond at the deadline. He's a guy who's been playing really well for Chicago. That double big lineup has worked well for them with Vooch. So I obviously know Daryl Morey is very shrewd and does good business, but could really use someone at that center spot right now to kind of hold the fort down, while Joel Embiid remains without a timetable for return.
Yeah, wonder if Kenny Lofton, who they have on the two-way, I wonder if they start getting looks at him in the next few weeks, because it's been a problem between Bamba and Reed. They certainly haven't fulfilled the role. Let's move to Cleveland and Detroit. On the Cleveland side of things, pretty full injury report here today. Questionable tags on Karis LeVert and Donovan Mitchell. So we'll have to wait to see if Donnie lets us know later. Left knee soreness on Donnie, elbow sprain for Karis LeVert. Still without the G Leaguers and the Tristan Thompson suspension, obviously here. So they did pick up Sharif Cooper on G League assignment, who I liked coming into the draft. So I'm interested to see if he makes his way up late in the April doldrums of DFS season. But Justin, what are your expectations for Karis and Donnie tonight?
Yeah, so Karis added to the 10:30 IR this morning. We got some contact. He had ice wrapped around that elbow after last game and kept shaking and flexing it, according to Chris Fedor. I think at least one of these guys is missing today, and I think it's more likely to be LeVert than Donovan Mitchell. And we'll note that this is usually kind of good context clue. Craig Porter Jr. Was listed out in the G League on Wednesday. He's not listed out on the G League today. So I think that's a decent sign that at least one of these guys is going to miss. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be LeVert. Mitchell has no recent history of knee issues. I went back and looked. He's with illness, growing, hamstring this season. I even looked, like, when I was back at Fantasy Labs, I don't think we tweeted anything about Mitchell knee there either. So this maybe is more of a precautionary Q tag after you played 44 minutes in that double OT game against Chicago. So I think he has a better shot to go here than LeVert. Obviously, that's a decent hole in the rotation. LeVert plays 27, 28 minutes a night. Would think Sam Merrill would get back in the rotation. We'll see Isaac Okoro get in the upper 20s off the bench in that situation, and then bolsters the minutes floors for Max Strus and Darius Garland as well. Max Strus probably low 30s, Darius Garland mid 30s in that situation.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be coming with the goodness. I do have the date though. April 2018 was the last time he was listed with a knee injury. So shout out to you. But I got the dates. But yeah, not too much to add. Obviously, really good man. He hasn't looked right. We saw the Wizards trap the hell out of him when they played them, and he's been kind of bad. He's had 2 sub-20 games, and when they needed 44 minutes, still can't get to 20. Hasn't looked right. Darius Garland driving a lot, but been really inefficient. He's been just not great with his 2-point game, but the role's there. He outtouched Donnie. He outdrove Donnie. He's been looking, he could have a breakout game. So if one of those guys misses, great matchup here. Going to probably get Jaden Ivey on him. Could be a really big Garland game regardless. It'll be Asar Thompson guarding Donovan if he's in. And then obviously Okoro would start if he did miss. But yeah, pretty much nailed everything else. They need a bounce back game here, man. The 5-7 Knights really got them. They got absolutely torched on the boards, which is, very reminiscent of the Knicks series, right? Where they oh my God, they can't get any rebounds. Jared Allen, the lights were too bright, yada, yada. So they need this game. I think that Donovan might play, but just getting that Q tag and not having it for a while makes me think that he's got a good chance to miss.
Next man up in the rotation, Justin, you mentioned that Craig Porter Jr. wasn't listed out among the G Leaguers. It had been kind of going back and forth between him and Sam Merrill when we saw a more extended absence from Darius Garland, at times Karis LeVert there. Is Sam Merrill the most likely guy that's next in the rotation, even though Craig Porter Jr. wasn't listed as out today?
I would think so, but it wouldn't surprise me if they went to Craig Porter Jr. I probably, if just LeVert ends up being out, I'll give Merrill minutes, and I probably won't hedge there because it's not going to be an extraordinary amount of minutes. I would think it's low teens, mid-teens, if that. So I don't think that we need to go hedge life there, but I do think it wouldn't surprise me if they go straight to Craig Porter Jr. We kind of seen the situations, especially in Memphis. We'll get to later where guys have been inactive and gone to starters. Obviously, Sam Merrill's not going to start. But could see Craig Porter Jr. just getting right back on the rotation.
Yep, don't have too much to add.
Okay,
I think we're.
Let's move to the Detroit side of things.
Dick, I think you need to pop in, pop back out. You kind of you're lagging.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So let's go to Detroit here. As I mentioned, Monty Williams said that they're going to be putting Asar Thompson on the number 1 perimeter player and then Isaiah Stewart on the other one. They don't help. They like to take away the catch and shoot stuff. So Isaiah Stewart would be guarding Mobley. Asar certainly guarding Donovan. Might guard Garland if he missed. Any other notes for you on the Pistons fan?
Not too much. I mean, we've kind of seen some stability in the rotation finally after kind of Asar's role has yo-yoed back and forth over the course of the season. He was off to a hot start, was starting, got benched and was playing teens some nights, and now he's pretty solidly now going to play around 30 minutes a game. So don't have too much to add. We have a pretty good idea of the rotation. Cade has been absolutely on fire.
Yeah,
coming out of the break.
Yeah, his stats. I can get that real quick. I think it's mid-20s. 1 second here. It is 29, 6 and 6 over his last 4 since the break. He is making jumpers like crazy. The driving game hasn't been too strong. It's just been money from the perimeter, which hasn't really been his bag, but he looks really, really good. Matchup sucks. One of the best pick and roll handler defenses in the NBA. I think they're still first per possession despite the last couple dips there. Think you want to add anything on Detroit here? And yeah, we're for sure Fontecchio off the bench. Monty Williams confirmed that.
Yep.
No, the chat knows that
your mic's messed up.
Oh, jeez, it's a struggle.
Tech Lord,
come back in, get the wrong mic.
All right. There it is.
Chat knows my anti-Cade positioning, so they're with Cade's recent output. But it's that time of the year. It's the second half of the season. Cade will do just enough to entice you into drafting him early next season, and then we'll see how it works out. Dallas and Boston.
You don't sound bitter at all.
I don't sound bitter at all about. I'm so bitter about everything best ball related right now. It's just outrageous. I'm currently advancing 1 of 47 teams in the semifinals of best ball stages on DraftKings right now. UD, I did fine in the regular season, and the prize pool's a little smaller for the playoffs, so I'm not sweating there as much now. But man, 1 out of 47 is incredibly below expectation. I'll try not to draft another best ball team on the way to the parking lot. All right, let's move to Dallas and Boston. On the Dallas side of things, Luka Doncic listed questionable left ankle sprain / broken nose. Maxi Kleber listed available with nasal fracture, and Derek Lively listed available with nasal fracture. this has got to be a record for most
Yeah.
nasal fracture situations on one team. And Bobby Portis and Nikola Mirotic weren't even involved. So shout out to the Mavs. What's the read on Luka tonight, Justin?
I wish I came proper. I'm kind of regretting I need to go see what the record is for most nasal fractures on a team at the same time is. I probably could go look that up.
You could just say it is, and people would believe you. Like,
I know,
no
but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, lead the people astray. But Luka participated in shoot around. He has played the last 6 times he's been listed questionable. So I think Luka is good to go tonight. Like Dink mentioned, Maxi Kleber is back, which means Daniel Gafford is back to playing very few minutes. He only played 7 minutes on Tuesday when Kleber was available. We've kind of seen the returns from those trades. PJ Washington smashing success. Daniel Gafford not so much. So they went 1 for 2. They've been playing pretty well, out of the deadline, out of the break. So, good for them. And yeah, Kleber's been playing well. So I think he's going to step right back in and jump ahead of Daniel Gafford. So, I think that's the biggest kind of takeaway, from this injury report.
Yeah, we kind of found out that Daniel Gafford is just Maxi Kleber insurance with the dislocated pinky toe with the 7 minutes 2 games ago, which I expect to happen again. He might not even play given the matchup. I want to shout the starting lineup. In 48 minutes together, their current starting lineup has a 134 offensive rating, 97 defensive rating, so plus 37.2. It's the third best of every lineup in the NBA with 48 minutes. You will never guess the two ahead. It's a Nets like bench unit, and then the old Clippers starters when they had Covington, when the Clippers were cooking. Random. But PJL, that'll be Jason Tatum. Pretty much matchup proof anyways. Don't really think it matters. Kyrie's been okay against the Celtics in his career. Luka's been pretty good against Drew, like averaging around 30 in a little bit fewer minutes here. So he's fine. I don't really think it matters that, once you shoot around, they don't care. He'll probably play a ton. National TV game. I think he's got like 44 in him today. This game's close. But is this game going to be close? Boston's playing lights out. 9-game winning streak.
Boston side of things, O'Shea Brissett added questionable for personal reasons. Don't think it's a big deal there. No other main players listed on the injury report. And as we noted earlier in the week, they're in a little bit of a soft spot in their schedule in terms of days off. They had 2 days off before this. They had 2 days off before the previous game. They have another day off after tomorrow. So they haven't needed to push these guys because they've been kind of blowing everybody out, but there's plenty of room too, just given how little that they've played of late, kind of coming out of the break. Justin, any notes on the Celtics tonight?
Not too much. I expect their minutes to be, pretty normal / elevated in the spot. Dallas is playing really well. I think they could push them a little bit and this should be close. I think it's a massive spot for Kristaps Porzingis, this matchup. We'll shout him out specifically. So would prefer him to just hate him just in terms of matchups. These guys probably my number one in terms of matchups on this team.
100% agree. They've been getting killed around the rim. Centers that beat up on Derek Lively and Gafford if they play him there. He'll have size advantage on Kleber. So I gave him and Jaylen Brown the great matchups in my article today. Transition's been a problem. The Mavs have been getting really killed. Jaylen Brown, number 2 in transition possessions per game. So I could see we saw him. He took advantage of that last game. I mentioned the third most points they had in transition against the Sixers. I think that'll happen here again. Maybe PJL could slow down Tatum. They're going to have Josh Green, who can't navigate screens and cover Tatum, and Brown's just too big for him. So I think this is more of a Brown and Chris that spot. But again, Tatum could just Tatum. He's like it's like there's like no reason to write him up, Sometimes he goes off, sometimes he doesn't, that could be my Tatum note every game.
Yeah, I mean, they just have so much offensive diversity that, it's not necessarily on anyone's shoulders, any one game. Golden State and Toronto, this is an important spot to talk through. I'm surprised there isn't more on the injury report here. Reports that Golden State had travel issues getting out of New York last night. Got in around 7 a.m., so it's going to be a very quick turnaround, 12-hour basically 12, 13-hour difference in time from landing to playing. Brandon Podziemski was listed as doubtful along with Guy Santos. Andrew Wiggins is still out for personal reasons here. This is 6th game in 9 nights for Golden State. They need every game at this point. And you look at the schedule and they've got a Sunday national TV afternoon game in Boston that if I'm an ABC executive, I'd be a little bit concerned about what we're going to get, because if I'm managing Golden State, I'm thinking we got to try to push through and get this win, and then maybe, pull back guys on the last game of this road trip. Justin, you're always tied to your hometown team here. So what are your thoughts on the Warriors tonight? Will we see anything else pop up on the injury report as the day goes on?
Yeah, always on red alert, but I think that should be about it. It wouldn't surprise me if one other person kind of popped up questionable, but the talk from Steve Kerr has been that this has been the plan for them all to play and no one to rest today. It did help that none of their starters played more than 32 minutes last night against the Knicks. Steph at 32, Dre 27, Clay 27, CP3 26. I think the interesting thing is who starts for Podziemski tonight. I'm kind of curious to kind of kick this around. We have seen Kerr, shown this in the past where he's fine spot starting someone. We've seen, a number of guys get spot starts this season. And, this Clay and CP3 second unit has clearly worked out well together. So it wouldn't shock me if someone like GP2 end up getting the spot start tonight, just to keep that second unit together. I do think the messaging there makes sense for Kerr to keep Clay in that second unit and not just kind of yo-yo him, yank him back and forth and start him one game, move him back to the bench on Sunday against Boston. So it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think there's really any other candidate. I think that Lester Quinones is a little bit too big brain. Don't think it's Chris Paul, don't really see him second layup back to back. They want to manage his minutes a little bit. So GP2 maybe makes the most sense. I know he hasn't played a ton of minutes, but I haven't read anything with that being related to some sort of minutes restriction. And they could start him as a nominal start and play him low 20s minutes, and that'd be fine too, right? So just want to keep that on the radar. I think the minutes here, the effects of no Podziemski would mean, CP3 played 25 and a half minutes last night. I had him projected for like 23 and a half. So a little bit more than I expected in the front leg of a back-to-back. But he did steal some minutes from Podziemski, I believe, in the second half there. So could see 26, 27 here. I don't think he's like too capped, kind of running back with that 25 and a half. I think Clay plays upper 20s here. Moody upper 20s as well. And then we're going to see probably Quinones get in there, maybe in that like 8 to 14 type of range to kind of fill out the rotation. So that's kind of what I'm expecting right now from this Warriors rotation with Podziemski doubtful.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. Only thing I'll add, was that the best game Jonathan Kuminga's ever played last night? I mean, he was so good, man. Like the impact on defense, running the floor, that pass he had to Steph was insane. So un-Kuminga-like. So my guy cruising a huge spot here. Raptors are getting killed in the paint. So a big Jonathan Kuminga spot. Steph on the glass, 7 boards in like the first quarter? That was insane. Yep. Yeah, that was Kuminga's alive. He's going to play a lot here, and I love this matchup. And as you mentioned, like they're calling him a 4, so like maybe you could talk about Dario. That's way too big brainy. So we have Clay starting just because, like, I don't know, man. Like, like, do you really want to play Gary Payton? I think they would rather play him Kuminga to insulate you if he gets into foul trouble. So we're leaning Clay, but again, it wouldn't be surprised because, as you mentioned, the messaging's been so consistent that they like that pairing together. They're not calling plays with Chris Paul on the court. They're just letting him figure it out. Him and Clay have a chemistry. They're running like some dribble handoff actions. They're like clearly involving those two. So I'm kind of with you, but again, like, so it feels a little dicey to roll GP2. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do something different there.
Yep.
And shout out Moses Moody really quick. He played pretty good defense on Jalen Brunson. His minutes are really safe now because he's not going to play anymore. Yeah. So great game from Moses Moody. Out of the rotation, just coming on here. He's been great the last couple here.
Yeah, you mentioned Dario too. I think this matchup wasn't a good one for him. They still stuck with him in his usual rotation spot too last night. So we'll note that Dario looks to be solidly in there.
Toronto side of the equation, Chris Boucher listed questionable with illness. He hasn't really been in the rotation of late, so nothing really notable here. Gallagher, do you have any notes on the Raptors?
Oh, no, just that Emmanuel Quickly's role has been increasing. Should mention that Jakob Poeltl returned. He said he could have played through it, and he was fine. His minutes were pretty much normal. Matchup sucks. The Warriors have been really good with interior defense. Their transition defense also has gotten a lot better. Actually, excuse me, it's been like it's been a little bit better. It's still like not great. It's like their weakness, which is where the Raptors' strength is. They're number 2 in transition points. So it could be a big Emmanuel Quickley game. We'll see if Moses Moody could guard him. Scotty Barnes is going to have Kuminga on him. Kuminga's a defensive stopper now. Breaking news.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what Pirtle could do. Like, this feels like a spot where Kelly Olynyk cuts him down. It's because of the matchup and the passing and the spacing from the Warriors there. And then Bruce Brown's minutes have kind of created a little bit. Don't have too much, but yeah, just Quickley's kind of really moving up the boards here quickly, you would say, from a role perspective.
Well played. Indiana and New Orleans. On the Indiana side of things, they're still without Doug McDermott. Aaron Nesmith still listed questionable here with the right ankle sprain. We've seen this Q tag last game, unable to play through it. So what are your expectations here, Justin, for Aaron Nesmith tonight?
I haven't heard a ton from him. We got a comment from Carlisle on Wednesday that he was making progress. That's all I've really heard. He was questionable. He upgraded questionable last game and then ruled out. Questionable again today. I would guess 45% to play. If I had to guess, I think he sits, but I don't feel great about that. We don't have a ton of intel. So he's missed the last 4 games, and we've seen Benny Matherin come in, averaging 34 minutes per game in those 4 starts, low 20s usage. So his role has been solid, and we've seen Ben Shepherd step in there as a really solid member of that rotation. We saw on Wednesday without McDermott, Rick Carlisle ran a 9-man rotation with Toppin, McConnell, Shepherd, and Jalen Smith off the bench. Would expect that to be the case today. Again, if Nesmith misses, don't have a ton else to add outside of that.
Only thing to add was Rick Carlisle last weekend said that they were looking for this weekend as a target date for Aaron Nesmith. We were pretty confident he was going to miss the last game. So they're targeting him to play here today, but that's about it. A couple of the beats, or one of the beats, did a Aaron Nesmith puff piece. So I don't know. It seems like he could be back. So, but yeah, pure coin flip to me. I don't have really a great read other than what we said. But yeah, Matherin's playing really well. Siakam, ultimate good matchup, crushed it. Expect that to happen again. Tyrese Halliburton will be on. Have Herb Jones on him there. And I'm curious if they probably start Nesmith just because they need the defense really bad. With the Pelicans on the other end. So he would probably start. I still think Matherin's got a shot at upper 20s if he's cooking, maybe low 30s. We've seen him play low 30s off the bench when he's cooking. So I think he's still got a pretty good role. Should also shout out Obi Toppin. Guarded Brandon Ingram, didn't do that great, but the fact that he's even guarding Brandon Ingram is a pretty good sign. Carlisle talked him up a pretty good bit after the game.
One question I had for you guys, assuming Nesmith plays tonight and I'm pretty sure he starts. What are the chances that Matherin overtakes Nembhard as the other starter?
Pretty doubtful to me. I think they're going to need him for on-ball point guard defense. I'd be pretty shocked.
I'm talking about in general, not outside of matchups.
Oh, okay. Down the line, 3-4.
Yeah, down the line. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because we were thinking about what the projection would be. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I'd probably say 30%.
Yeah, I think it's sort of irrelevant because I think he'll just be able to play starters minutes kind of regardless off the bench. But I think splitting him and Halliburton up and Siakam, just having 2 of those guys on the floor at all the same time. So if they did do that, they just have to adjust some of the rotations a little bit in terms of quick subs and staggering with the second units. But I think that's the big thing is that they just need shot creation in that second unit outside of McConnell because, you can only rely on McConnell to generate so much. So I think that's the main purpose for keeping him in the second unit right now. New Orleans side of things, their injury report is surprisingly clean. This is, remember, this last game against Indiana was their 5th game in 7 nights. They had travel issues in that spot, similar to what we were talking about with Golden State tonight. This is a 6th game in 9 nights for them. They did have the day off yesterday, but they're right back at it here again. We had been seeing Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum kind of all on the injury report. We saw Trey Murphy on the injury report last game. None of them on the injury report today. So good news there. Gallagher, do you have any other notes on the Pelicans?
Yeah. No Zion Q tags. A big deal. It's been a month since that happened. And CJ McCollum did return. And he was, I think he called him 90% green dead. Wasn't 100% was the exact quote from him. So, but look fine. But yeah, I think Zion's got a pretty big minute ceiling here. Brandon Ingram, took it to Obi Toppin, among others here. Really good matchup for Zion. Zion still outtouched CJ McCollum, even though CJ was back. The drives are up. Zion's first in the NBA and field goal attempts at the rim since the break. He looks awesome. Almost cover boyed him again. I'm in Zion love mode here. I'm the anti Stephen A. Smith, but for the takes and for the Zion love. But yeah, the other note here is Jonas Valanciunas, perhaps the headline. After the game, Willie Green said that they knew they were going to go small. We saw that go-to move. They start Larry Nance in the second half. He was not injured. They did not want to play him today because of the pace of the Pacers and how they run their offense. So we cut him down pretty hard. We got him at 21 minutes, and I feel like that's kind of high. A couple of our guys wanted to put him a little bit more. A couple of us want to go a little bit lower, but I think upper 20s is off the table. I think like teens is probably where he's going to land. But yeah, a lot of small ball stuff. They want to play Trey Murphy for spacing. Obviously, bad matchup for him with the Pacers having the fewest catch and shoot points allowed per game. But Herb's been just crushing too. This small ball stuff really helps Herb. They play him like kind of as at some matchup, not this one. Like they play him like defensively as like kind of like a center sometimes, or offensively for being like a dunker and all that. But yeah, I think that the headline here is Valanciunas' minutes in this matchup are really vulnerable.
One more thing, Jose Alvarado's back from his suspension today, so I cut Jordan Hawkins out of the rotation. Maybe you give him some nominal minutes, but I have him out of the rotation entirely.
We got him 4.5, so pretty much with you.
Yeah.
All right, Portland and Memphis. On the Portland side of things, DeAndre Ayton's doubtful. He joins the likely out tags of Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, of course, Robert Williams here. Moses Brown listed questionable, so maybe they get a little bit of a big replacement here, although it's unclear if he would even kind of crack the rotation in the absence of DeAndre Ayton if he is available. So, Justin, what's your read here on the Blazers tonight?
Yeah, this and the Grizzlies is a really interesting situation. So, kind of want to dive into this. So, second half on last game against the Heat, and we had no Ayton in the second half, but we only saw 19 second half center minutes from Duop Reith and Jabari Walker together. And that was against Bam Adebayo and Kevin Love. And they're playing a Grizzlies team today without Jaren Jackson Jr. That's probably going to roll like some combination like Jameson and Aldama and Gigi Jackson down there. And they're a smaller team. So I cut down the center minutes. Like I think there's a decent chance Moses Brown maybe doesn't even play at all. And they just roll like a 9-man with Tybal, Jabari Walker, Higgins, and Delano Banton off the bench. Like if their third most used lineup on Tuesday was Simons, Higgins, Tybal, Kamara, and Grant. So they basically ran small ball, and I think there's a decent chance we see some of that today as well. Against this smaller Grizzlies team. So had some, I think it's kind of interesting to see what their minutes look like. Tybal played 30 minutes. Like I said, they were comfortable playing the smaller lineups with him in there. Obviously, without DeAndre Ayton, him being doubtful, and Jeremy Grant will command massive usage in that starting lineup. Toumani Camara has also seen 8% usage rate bump this season with Ayton, Scoot, Brogdon, and Sharpe off the court as well. So that usage has to come somewhere. And yeah, I think, Ant and Grant are positioned for really big spots here. We might even see some rebounding upside too from Grant if they do elect to go with some smaller lineups. So out of Duop Reith and Jabari Walker, have always kind of leaned towards Jabari Walker. Just think he's a little bit more productive, but kind of curious to see where you guys land on the kind of the center split right now. My initial run through was like 24.5, 23.5, Reith and Jabari Walker. But yeah, just want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, we're a little bit more Duop. So that small ball stuff that they were running, I think that was when they were running zone. I think Miami ran like 12 possessions of zone in that game. I'm pretty sure that was part of it. So I think that was why. And then Billups talked about that after the game, that was kind of their approach, was to play that way. Yeah. So kind of throwing it out, but it was interesting though. It's quite a lineup to have Higgins out there next to Ant. So yeah, I'm with you, but I think Duop starts. I think that they've trusted him enough. We saw him start the second half. Get some pretty good spacing out there. Do you even need that though? We'll talk about the Grizzlies in a little bit. And yeah, the roles are great, man. Jeremy Grant, he is 7th in front court touches since the All-Star break. Simons is playing a ton. He's playing so poorly though. He can't make shots. His pull-up game's fallen off. I don't care though, because I cover Boyd him. I think this is an Ant breakout game. I don't think Jordan Goodwin can slow him down. So really excited for Ant. I think he's going to play a ton here. The Grizzlies just have nothing on defense, and we've seen them hang around 10th-ish defensively, but that's with Jaren Jackson in the lineup. So this is kind of a get right. I took Blazers last night +3. I guess we'll leave it at that because this Grizzlies team they're going to trot out tonight is something.
Yeah, I will say with regards to the small ball lineups that Justin was referencing, a lot of times when you go smaller in terms of who's playing the 5, if you have a lot of positional size at the other spots, it's easier to make up for. And a team that has like Jeremy Grant and Kamara and Tybal and Delano Banton, if they choose to play him as well, that's a lot of length and a lot of positional size. So you can kind of still make it up that way. So this is going to be one of the more interesting spots to try to diagnose for the late swap, for the non-late swap slate, because we're not going to know the starters by lock time. So we're going to be guessing at it. And it's going to be one of the ones that we'll be keeping an eye on for starters jerseys and all those different things to see if we can get more intel and more information. But trying to figure out how Portland's going to play is really important for this slate, just naturally, because as Mike alluded to, we would expect the Grizzlies defense to fall off substantially without Jaren Jackson Jr. out there.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good with Simons, Chris Murray, Kamara, Grant, and Reith, right? I think that's kind of where we're landing with the starting 5. I feel decently that that's going to be their starting lineup.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. On the Memphis side of things, we mentioned Jaren Jackson is out. Of course, they're still without Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, John Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr., Derrick Rose, and Marcus Smart. And then they've also listed Luke Kennard and John Conchar as doubtful, and Gigi Jackson is questionable. So it's my favorite time of the day is to wait for Underdog to tweet who's left for Memphis as I count through the roster. So Justin, what are we looking at for the Grizzlies tonight?
So I am counting 10 available, including Gigi Jackson. Gigi Jackson participated in shoot-around, so we're expecting him to go. Expecting the starters to be Goodwin, Zaire, Vince Williams Jr., Aldama, and Trey Jamison, and the bench to be Gigi Jackson, LaRavia, Lamar Stevens, Yuta Watanabe, and Matthew Hurt. We've kind of seen this a lot with Jamison, Gilliard, Scottie Pippen Jr., these guys on two-way deals. They're either inactive or starting sometimes just to preserve the days and games left on a two-way deal. Jamison has been in that case. I think he's been inactive for like 3 games or something. He hasn't played in a bit, but this is a spot where it makes sense for, to put him on that active list, use one of those remaining days and games left with Jaren Jackson Jr. doubtful. So I think he starts. And for all the people clamoring for Gigi Jackson to start, I don't think it matters. He's going to play a lot, and he's going to lead this team in usage today. He's going to play a massive role regardless. So I think this offense today, being so shorthanded, it's going to fall on Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson to be the headliners in terms of usage. I think Zaire has shown that he can get up there in terms of like low mid-20s usage as well. I think Goodwin's going to play a ton today, not like 36, 38 minutes or anything, but like, solidly at least mid or low 30s, mid 30s without Derrick Rose and with Luke Kennard doubtful. So feel pretty decent about, Zaire or Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, and Goodwin, kind of their roles heading into tonight.
Yeah, Vince has picked up a lot of handling too. He's been near the top of the team for touch time. Him and Jaren Jackson are like by far their 2 biggest players. Jenkins called him and Jaren their primary guys. So hey, he's the only one left now. So yeah, really big role. Good matchup here. The Blazers defense has been quite bad. These offenses have been really bad though. The Blazers offense has been 87 half court rating in February, the worst in the NBA. Dreadful stuff from them. But we have 1 minute of overlap with Lamar. I feel like we've talked like Lamar Stevens overlap a lot this year. Like Boston, we did it. I don't know. Anyways, so we have 25-24 Lamar over Jemison. We saw this a few games ago when Jaren missed, and there was 4 minutes of overlap, but that was when they did not have Jake LaRavia. So we think they're going to cover the center minutes that way. We know they've been playing him at center. Lamar, pretty good bait here. But this is the sicko gross game of the day. 2 really bad teams, but there could be some fantasy production with somewhat tighter rotations with Billups playing his main guys a lot of minutes here. So yeah, you national people, you have your Luka, Tatum. Give me Ashton Haggins, Gigi Jackson, and Jordan Goodwin, and Watanabe. Give me all those guys here. I'm pretty excited for this game in true me fashion.
This is a 208 total. So let's not get too careful. Get there on usage and minutes. There's going to be a lot of inefficiency and shots missed at the same time. Turnovers.
I was gonna say, I kind of, as we're talking through this, I kind of think I would put Lamar Stevens as the favorite to start, because I think if Duop Reith is on the other side, I think they'd much rather have Lamar Stevens guarding Jeremy Grant, and Santi Aldama can just play against Duop Reith instead of having Santi Aldama have to go out and guard Jeremy Grant or Trey Jamison to have that role. So it's one thing that this matchup, because Duop Reith is more of a guy that's going to pull you away from the basket offensively and not really, challenge you a lot other than maybe screen navigation a little bit. I could see them, like, I'm leaning more and more towards maybe they just start Lamar Stevens and call Santi their center in these type of lineups. Because Lamar Stevens, the one thing that he's been sort of used for in his career across different stops has been kind of more as a bigger wing defender. The one guy you have to worry about that on Portland is going to be the guy who's starting in Jeremy Grant. So that's the one thing, as we're thinking about this more and more, that I'm starting to lean towards. Maybe it's Lamar Stevens that gets the start.
Yeah, he has 0 starts to Trey Jamison's 3. That's kind of
literally exactly what I was just about to say. I think in these spots, a lot of times when Gallagher and I debate some of this stuff, and Gallagher comes from it from more like a logical standpoint, like this guy makes sense.
Yeah,
he should be starting. And I'm more of the coaches are stubborn and they'll just kind of stick with what they know and I look at the track record more than anything, and exactly what Gallagher has said. We've seen Jamison get 3 starts already this season. Yep. Lamar is just a newish guy that's been added to this team. He has gotten up to like 29 minutes, which is, reasonable. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I'm just gonna lean on these.
You have to. I'm just saying, for one of the edges of this slate, right, is going to be trying to figure out the non-late swap stuff, especially if you're playing on DraftKings, and that's something that I might choose to lean into tonight. We'll talk about more on the DFS show.
And I think it's completely reasonable too to be projecting Lamar Stevens for more minutes than Jamison, regardless of whether you start. So I think that makes a ton of sense as well.
He's seen some really long rotations too. So we have him 1 minute ahead, and maybe we should be more.
Well, I think what we'd all agree with is our starting point is more along Jamison starting. So there's more room from where we're going right now for Lamar to go up than Lamar to go down from where we're going. Is the basic note that we're kind of talking through. Okay. Sacramento and Minnesota. On the Sacramento side, De'Aaron Fox questionable with this left knee contusion. He went through shoot around again. He went through shoot around last game against Denver, missed that game. Very disappointing for the few best ball teams that I have that are even relevant of those 47. So Justin, tell me De'Aaron Fox is going to play tonight. I need the good news.
The new, I will deliver the good. The good news is that I think he's going to play. He participated in shoot around. I did the same on Wednesday before sitting out. He went through pregame warm-up, so he was close on Wednesday. I think it was more precautionary that they sat him out. The bad news is he gets the Timberwolves, and it's going to be pretty much a disaster for everybody on this Kings team. And I don't really want a piece of Fox or Sabonis or any of these guys tonight. So, a little bit of a mixed bag. You will get accumulated stats. Will those stats be?
That's all I need. That's all I need.
Not necessarily, but we'll get some stats.
Yeah, that's all I need. I just need some. These 2-week, the way the DK playoffs are set up is it went from right before the break, the short week, to right after the break, the short week, and then the second week, but they don't reset on the second week. So any missed game from your guys that are counting is just like disastrous. At this point, it's challenging. And of course, Zion, the guy who we dinged so hard for games played this season, makes it through the 5 of 7. It is totally clear. Oh, just getting smashed over. Gallagher, any notes on the Kings? Sasha Vezenkov still listed out as well.
Super important. No, Kevin Huerter got hunted in the Denver game and lost minutes. He was kind of running pretty good. We saw him not close a couple games ago. Mike Brown said that they wanted to go back to him, but Monk was playing well. So, Kayvon quite vulnerable here. Could see the Wolves having a slice of red velvet cake and attack him here. They'll put him on Jaden to hide him. But if like I said last time, if Fox doesn't play, I'm beating the books and taking the Wolves here. Like, De'Aaron Fox is so important in this matchup. Like, if they don't have him, they're going to lose by like 15-20.
They might score like 80 points.
Yeah. So it's a terrible matchup for Sabonis. I guess Keegan would have to get the Jaden matchup. And their second unit's been so good defensively, man. Like, the Nickeil Alexander-Walker minutes have been so good. Nas has been really good. We could talk about them on the other side, but yeah, like you said, it was odd to see him go through shoot around and not play, but maybe it was altitude. We see guys, maybe that was why they're okay. Let's sit him out. He's worn down. He's been playing great though. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, if Fox sits out, this is going to be a bloodbath. Davion Mitchell is my first team all Nihao team. I think he's going to be there. It's only a matter of time. And they were getting cooked so badly from Jamal. They had to turn to Keon Ellis for some stints to try to slow him down. It was very, very ugly.
Yep. Minnesota side, their injury report does have some notable names. Anthony Edwards listed questionable with left ankle soreness. Kyle Anderson's doubtful with the left knee sprain here. No Karl-Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert on the injury report, so that's good to see. But the Q tag for Ant, who tends to play through a lot of this stuff, I was surprised he battled through the last game against the Grizzlies, handed us an L by playing 40 minutes when we took an under on him, thinking he could be managed in any way. Justin, what are your leans on Anthony Edwards tonight?
My leans is this dude's going to play through everything. He said that his teammates call him Paul Pierce because he will go to the locker room. It looks bad. I don't think he's soiling himself necessarily. Yeah. But he's right back out there. And we kind of seen the progression with this. He suffered that ankle injury on Tuesday, had to be helped to the locker room. Not only did he return, he started the second half, he played the second leg of a back-to-back the next day. And we got to note that this has been downgraded. It's soreness now. It's not a sprain in the designation. So, Ant's going to play. I'd be really surprised if he doesn't, just given what we saw in this back-to-back. And he has been an absolute tear as of late. 41, 34, 28, 29, 34, 34, his points over the last recent stretch. So do not take unders.
We're not doing that.
Don't go back to that well. With Kyle Anderson being doubtful, we'll note that Finch essentially ran an 8-man rotation on Wednesday. Nas, NAW, Monte were his main guys. We saw a little bit of Jordan McLaughlin in there, but I think that's going to be the case again today with Slow-Mo doubtful.
Yeah, a few things to add. So not only did Ant crush on offense, he guarded Jaren well. Yep. That was impressive. And he said, despite this ankle injury being carried off the day before, he said he's in the best shape of his life. He's freaking playing, and he's going off. He's going to kill my original guy, Keegan Murray. Keegan's been pretty decent. He's slowed down Donovan Mitchell, but I'm calling Anthony, I talk about space creation where Donovan does that, Booker does that. Ant is a space taker. He just you're in front of him, bam, gone, by you, dunking. He's second in the NBA in field goal makes at the rim this since the break. He's absolutely cooking. He's gonna probably pop off again. I almost cover boyed him again here, but really into him. Jaden McDaniels got talked up from Chris Finch. Said that he is back to the quote Jaden of old. Was kind of struggling a little bit. Obviously, he'll guard Fox if he plays. Struggles sometimes against those quick guys, but I think he'll be in a pretty good spot. And then the last note. Rudy Gobert didn't close. Played 39 minutes the game before. Chris Finch said that may have been why, but he said they, quote, needed to score down the stretch to kind of cover the Grizzlies and keep him at bay there. So expect him back. Finch said he's not worried about it, so expect
we'll need him tonight in this matchup.
100%.
Yeah, that's a unique situation when you feel like you don't need extra defense out there. You're playing from behind against the Grizzlies offense that's not super threatening. I think that's kind of a one-off spot for Gobert.
It's also the luxury of having Naz Reid off the bench.
Yep. Milwaukee and Chicago. Milwaukee, we get the Giannis Antetokounmpo probable tag, right knee patellar tendonitis. Chris Middleton left ankle sprain out. I need you to stop not waving the probable tag for Giannis because I need him to miss a game. I need all these guys that I need to miss a game are just powering through questionable and probable tags. I could use Giannis missing a game. But Justin, the probable tag has not been an issue for Giannis this year.
No, I guess I'm not going to talk, guys. I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. So Mike, you got anything on
Yeah, their transition defense. They've been one of the best transition defenses since the break. That was a big bugaboo for them earlier. Their on-ball defense has been better. Their defense has been really, really good over the last few games. So I'm not sure if I buy it. They did play the Charlotte twice. They've had a couple of soft matchups. But, hey, keeping a team in single-digit transition, I don't care who you're playing, man. That's really good. So that's really the big note. Don't have too much else. Dame's been, better here. Obviously, A-plus matchup for Malik Beasley. We love to catch and shoot stuff against the Bulls. But yeah, that's mostly it. I don't have too much. And we got to shout out Bobby Portis. Is he dead? 6 man. He's coming on. He's scoring upper teens, double. He's scoring 16, 17 a game, double. Can the Bucks go to number 2?
We need a month of like 22 a game. Like we need a lot more.
We need like crazy eye memes every other night. This dude is just raining threes and staring down the bench. We need crazy eyes to be activated.
He's gonna be by the end of the year. He's gonna be number 2 in bench points. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. He's gonna pass Bogdan like in a week. He probably won't catch Monk. Monk's for sure the favorite, but like our 75 to 1s, 100 to 1s, they're not dead yet, man. I think that the big brand or the old people, they're like, oh, standings, the Bucks are second. Who's their 6th man? Bobby. Okay.
I hope so. I hope so.
Here's my thing. Like, is Bobby gonna close better this season than Benny Mathurin? Like Benny Mathurin's starting to get like starters minutes off the bench and go crazy. Mm-hmm. Like that's just another guy. You got it's crowded, man. It's crowded.
Yeah, they're pushing it though. Like Giannis got asked about it. One of the interviews I was watching on Bucks TV, he's like, oh yeah, he's like balling and he's like changing the dynamics of the offense. So yeah, sure you could talk about Doc Rivers, but clearly the reason why the Bucks are getting better is because Bobby Portis is playing better. Clip that, put it all over the internet, and get the Bobby Portis agenda going.
I mean, I will say, if there's one thing about Underdog and their related NBA brands, they know how to clip stuff and get it going around NBA Twitter. Gil's got some takes that are getting out and around the league these days.
He's firing. He's
firing. Underdog knows well. Chicago side, Alex Caruso listed questionable today. That's the big injury note for them. They're still without, of course, Torrey Craig, and have lost Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams for the season. So Alex Caruso questionable tag. Justin, what are your leans here?
Yeah, I think he's true 50-50. It didn't surprise me he missed last game. He returned, but Billy said he only put him in for a short stint because he clearly didn't look right. And I think this is a hamstring strain, so it seems a little bit more serious. So it wouldn't, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if he sat out today. Would consider him true 50-50. And I think regardless, this is a spot where we're going to see, even if Caruso plays, a good amount of Drummond Vooch overlap, if not Drummond starting outright. So I looked like 12 to 14 minutes of overlap between Vooch and Drummond. They like him kind of in these bigger matchups. So would expect Drummond to play a decent role here regardless of Caruso's status.
Yep. Don't have too much to add there. Yeah, just the rebounding, man. 25 offensive rebounds against the Cavs, who are like second in the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage allowed in half court. So yeah, really big win. 5th game in 7 nights for the Cavs in that game. That certainly helped them, and the overtime really wore them down there. But tough matchup for DeMar. DeMar's been kind of held in check. And got to mention, my guy Kobe White, he is down bad. He is 5 of 28, I believe, on catch and shoot. Yeah, 5 of 28 on catch and shoot. He is 32 effective field goal percentage on pull-ups. He is really cold. Hate to see it for the best ball on the timing on that.
Yeah.
And Billy Donovan said they want to get him more catch and shoot stuff. Do you? He's 5 of 28. So go ahead. I'll let you jump in.
I mean, he can deny it all he wants, but it's the wear and tear, man. I mean, him and DeRozan are 1-2 in total minutes played this season. I mean, it's just like, it makes so much sense. Maybe he'll work himself out of it. This is a good get right spot for him, but yeah, I mean, it's just a huge load that's been put on him and DeMar's shoulders this season without LaVine.
Yeah.
And then how many minutes are good? Dink.
I was going to say, when you can't make shots, the way to try to compete is to get extra shots. And the way to get extra shots is to play Andre Drummond. 74 to 39 out rebounding the Cavs. I mean, Drummond had 26. The Cavs team had 39 rebounds. Just outrageous. So I think you're going to continue to see a lot of this double big lineup simply because I think the two things are kind of going hand in hand, right? Like it all works in the same way. You play the double big lineup, you have less spacing as well, so the shots are going to be more contested. But the answer, when you have your best shooters who are all totally worn down and shooting poorly, is to just try to go get more shots as much as you can. And so the Drummond Vooch stuff, I think it's going to continue for a while.
And then the only other answer, we got to talk about Onuralp Batim.
Yes.
Closes, hits 2 big free throws late in the game. Yeah. He was good, man. He had a couple nice closeouts. He's in the rotation, man. I haven't got the Chicago minutes yet, but we'll have him in. I thought he made a really nice impact there.
he had 7 total minutes, I believe, heading into the game and played 28 and closed. And yeah, he looked good.
I mean, just anything that starts with bit these days is going straight to the moon. So it's a bull market. It's a bull market for Bit Team for sure. All right, let's move to Washington and the Clippers. Last game on the slate to cover. Washington, second night of back-to-back. Overtime game last night. Have not submitted an injury report tonight. Justin, what are your expectations on what we might see for Washington later?
I think it's just Coulibaly going to be on the injury report. I think everybody else should be fine. Jordan Poole doesn't deserve a night off given the way he's been playing. He played well, last game. They dropped 34 off the bench, but this is a team that's, I think, lost 13 straight. So no rest for the weary, I guess. I think he'll probably be the only one on the injury report, Coulibaly. What are your kind of takes on the Wizards, Gallagher?
That tweet you had last night with Kuzma was quite good. That had me rolling there. I mean, they're playing better though. Like they're hanging in there in games.
Yeah.
I mean, this is A plus tanking, man. You know, just if you could lose by like 2 or 3, go to overtime and lose. Hat tip, man. Very well done from them. We got to talk about the LA Baddies narrative for Poole, right? It goes off to 34. The roll's been really good for him, man. The touches are up, the front court touches are up, the drives are coming up a little bit, not too much. He shoots all outside, but Brian Keefe says they want to get the ball in his hands. The minutes have been really, really strong, so I think that he's in a pretty decent spot. Hopefully, he didn't enjoy the LA Baddies too much last night. And then Kuzma just plays so much here. A big game for Marvin Bagley. I guess I'll save the Clippers notes on the other side, but I think that there's a chance they can hang around. There's definitely probably a bigger chance they get blown out. But I mean, they're ever since they hired Brian Keefe, man, their blowout rate has been a lot lower.
Yeah, I will say the LA. I mean, this is completely unserious analysis, talking about baddies and stuff. But with Jordan,
I'm very interested to hear where you're going.
But here's what I have to say. It's deeply unserious, but Jordan Poole is also a deeply unserious player. So it fits. If there's a player for us to throw out deeply unserious narratives, it's Jordan Poole, right? And LA Baddies, I'm with you. I think that plays. We've seen the cut-ups of him, just raining threes and looking courtside. We've all seen that. But we're coming off the LA Nightlife too, which is undefeated. Yep. So there's a bit of concern here in the second leg of a back-to-back. So, that's kind of all I have to add. Denny Avdia played freaking 43 minutes coming off an injury. So it doesn't look like any sort of restrictions on him. Kind of curious about his workload here in the second leg of a back-to-back. But yeah, don't really have too much else to talk about with the Wizards.
And Kispert's role's been really big, just to add him really quick. But Dink, are you going to adjust the usage rate for the LA Baddies narrative?
No, I was just going to say, I think you guys are indirectly taking shots at the Baddies of Washington D.C. in the metro area, and I'm not about that. So I don't want to be caught in
come out here for a weekend. I know you're a married man now, but
yeah,
I'll show you.
Yeah,
the LA Baddies are. It's a real narrative that I live on a day-to-day.
Undefeated.
Yeah. I will say there was some hiking today. There was some pretty nice AZ baddies. I
buy that too. I buy that too.
Boy. Yeah, the warm weather. You guys are all.
We need like the baddies like rankings, so we can start plugging into algorithm and really kind of dig.
Buddy, it sounds like you've got some content ideas to shift Gilbert Arenas' way. It sounds like you've just got some notes to deliver Gil's way, because I'm sure they've got great intel on that. I don't know if they'd be willing to share it or not, but yeah. All right, Clippers side. Paul George listed questionable. Ivica Zubac's listed questionable with illness here. Paul George with the left knee meniscus irritation. Justin, what are your notes on the Clips?
Yeah, so Paul George got some work in before shoot around, then participated in shoot around. The big thing with Paul George here that we'll note, I thought he was probably a little closer to doubtful before this report came out, because the biggest note was his injury designation got changed from a sore left knee to left knee meniscus irritation. And usually there's like no real incentive for these teams to change these designations and just maybe keep it vague with soreness. The fact that they kind of narrowed it down to meniscus irritation was a little bit concerning to me. I still think it's possible he sits out. They're playing the Wizards. I think they can still handle business without him. They're 16-point favorites. So even though he did participate in shoot around, we saw this with De'Aaron Fox, the other night when he participated in shoot around, went through pregame warms and didn't play, right? So I still think Paul George is pretty iffy here, 50-50, I'll say. No Zubac at shoot around today either. No sign of him. So, he's dealing with an illness, could see him missing another game. Like I said, 16-point favorites. I don't think they can take care of business without either of these guys. So Law Murray did a great job pointing this out. The Clippers defense has been shambles without Zubac. He's their only kind of real form of rim protection, which, if he's out, would improve the outlook of the Wizards players on the other side of the ball a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of, a good starting point. That's where I have where we can kind of start off from there. What do you got, Gallagher?
Yeah, the Lakers have one quarter that will wreck your defensive rating. The Pelicans, the second quarter, that one Friday night game. But yeah, just more specifically on that, their last 8 games, they've been really bad. 27th in defensive rating, 22nd in offensive rating for a team that was lapping the field for offensive rating. Over an 8-game sample, sure, not 20 games or whatever, but 8 games when they've had, Sacramento on the schedule, Detroit on the schedule, they've had a couple easy games there, and they haven't been able to separate. So, a little surprising Norm Powell didn't start. One thing to add on the PG thing, Woj reported he'd be back, quote, soon, when he missed the Lakers game. But that was on ESPN air as well. But I'm with you. Like, I don't know. I think they just said him. That injury designation change was a pretty big deal. So I thought he was a little bit more doubtful as well. Don't have too much to add. Obviously expecting Norm to play a pretty good bit here. Kawhi could absolutely smash her. The Wizards are still first in the NBA and giving up the most rim points. So yeah, it could be. And if Zoo could play, he could completely smash. We know centers just maul the Wizards.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, they've been a little bit more competitive on O'Keefe. So let's say PG and Zoo do end up missing. This could be close enough to where we do get a payout out of the Kawhis, and there's not like as much blowout risk as the 16-point spread would kind of make it seem.
Yep. These games are not on the non-late swap slate. They're not on either of the main slates, so you'll get more information if you're playing these games from a DFS perspective in the late slates or showdown or different things like that. But obviously big questionable tags for the Clippers because it impacts things a lot when you take off the usage for both Paul George and if it's a Zubac in terms of where it flows for the Clippers. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. So check out all the great stuff going on at Underdog Fantasy, where you can play fantasy pick'em games. You can play draft-based games against your peers, all sorts of daily contests that they have going out. They've got NBA playoff best ball contests going out. They've got NFL best ball contests going out in advance of the draft in the season ahead. So while you're watching the combine and watching men run around in underwear and evaluating them, you can be drafting on your phone on Underdog as well and getting in there for big cash prizes. Justin, anything else other than Gilbert Arenas' upcoming episode ranking the baddies around the league that we should be looking out for from Underdog Fantasy?
Yeah, as talked about Combine, we're getting stuff out there on the NFL feed. We have Combine Pick'em in the lobby as well. We just got our license for Sportsbook approved in North Carolina. We'll be launching there shortly. So a lot of good stuff coming with Underdog. And yeah, just excited for the momentum, how things are going, and, keep it going.
As always, the best way to support the work that we're doing here is to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Help us reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season. We're a couple hundred short now. Would love your help in reaching that goal. If you're interested in checking out some of the premium content Established Run, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings. You can catch myself and Gary Hartman behind the paywall tonight for his finale at 5 o'clock Eastern time. I've also got a strategy video up on the site that I recorded yesterday. It's in the NBA dropdown under strategy, breaking down the differences between how to play late swap and non-late swap slates. So if you are playing a non-late swap for the first time on DraftKings, please check out that video on the site. I think it'll help you prepare for tonight on where you can potentially find edges. This show is a big part of that. And as always, if you're interested in supporting this free content that we're putting out here, the best way to do that is to smash that like button and feed that algorithm. You feed the algorithm, it helps feed our families, allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button. Nom, nom, nom. Get into the weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Monday.